what we want to hear now is more about advice, because this has been a process, as we've discussed, and it has not been a process that's just, you know, fill in the blank, say this and that's it. Right. So knowing what you know now and the cycles that you've gone through, the applications that you've submitted, the interviews, the additional training, the research, the meetings and organizational meetings, annual meetings that you've attended, knowing what you know now, what is some advice that you want to share with future or even current applicants that are applying right now for endo?
Well, one, they definitely want to know your why, and you have to be very passionate, and they want to see that passion and why you love endo, because they can tell when people are doing it just because it's something else. So they really want to know that you're committed, and that you're really going to advance the specialty and really contribute to their program and the specialty. That's important because a lot of schools base their success on board certification. So like that's what they want to make sure, see if that's what they're trying to, like, they want to have people for that. So that's the number one, and that's why becoming a member of the AAE is so important, and networking with at the meetings and also with your local endodontists, just to kind of see what they do and just talk to them. If you're still in school, it's really important to have a plan, and that you know that you are going to be president or vice president of taking on student leadership. More and more schools want research. It's getting more competitive for endo, so like that's why you want to have research, even if you're not the primary author. But you do want something that could get published within either, even after you graduate and you're still applying, because that's important. You need to have a good GPA and good rank because they are looking at that. And then you have to decide too for yourself if you're going to do a GPR, AEGD, or work private practice, that's what I chose to do. And then also if you're going to take the ADAT. And if you're going to take the ADAT, you got to kind of time that in when you're taking boards. When does that open up? You have to look and see what kind of the score range is that some of these schools are accepting. So, it's a larger process, and the earlier you do it, it makes it easier. The one tip I would say too, for when you're doing your applications, is to always update your CV after you've done something. So if you've done a volunteer event or you've gotten a new award, that's very helpful. Or you've attended it like a CE or a meeting, always add that because you're going to forget. And they do ask for that too when you look, when you're doing your past application. So that's kind of important to have all those things. And also when you're interviewing, because you're going to need to look at your resume a few times to make sure there's certain points that you're going to want to hit. So for me, like, that's what kind of the advice that I could give for that and what I've kind of done. And then also in the back of your mind, if you don't get it, kind of think of things that you could up for next application cycle. Like, what could you do for your reapplication? Like, where do you need to strengthen? And that would probably be the next kind of thing to kind of go forward with.
Yeah, and all of these are very key points, and they seem very simple and very basic, but they're simple and basic in the point that they're easy not to do as well.
Right.
You know, especially the updating of the CV
Yeah.
on a constant basis. Oh, I'll get to it later. I don't care what Dr. Christina says. She doesn't know my workload. No, she does. That's why she's telling you has a strong recommendation for you to consider, which is update that every week if there's something different.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Which is another reason to be journaling, especially if you're going on endo experiences, externships at your school. If you're one of the D3 or D4 students that have been selected to do a in school rotation / externship in the endo department, you want to be journaling those experiences for yourself so that you have content for what? For your application, maybe even for your CV as a couple of bullet points showing that you were selected out of, 20 applicants to be one of the dental school externs in the endo department at your school,
Actually, that's a good point, Dr. Darwin. And also, let me to add to that is also make sure you knew what systems you're using, because they will ask, like, at like my school, we used Wave One, and like what operations type of systems, materials, they wanted to ask that. And then my endo department, my faculty were always pushing me because they knew I wanted to specialize, that they made me use the microscope on cases. So I also had that to talk about. So, you want to either, while you're still in school, try to get as much as you can, but also notate what materials and systems and files you're using, so because you do want to talk intelligently to your colleagues about what you're using, because they're going to ask your preference or what do you think about something else. So you kind of have to know what's on the market too.
Yeah, and if you can't answer that question, they're going to be like, well, you want to be an endodontist?
Right.
And you don't know file systems? Or maybe not a lot of hands-on experience with it. But I think for some of those programs that do take D4 students, right after graduation, the main thing is demonstrating that you're teachable, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're teachable to the point where you haven't done so much endo that you're not willing to be taught new things,
right,
because you've done endo this way for the last 5 or 6 years, which is a whole other discussion as to how you communicate such if you are in that category, right? You're GP for 5 years and it's like, you know what? I got to do endo now. I got to do endo. Well, one of the questions that may come up is, you've been doing a lot of GP endo your way. How do we know that you're going to be able to be taught other ways? So that may come up. But again, journal those experiences. I think that's so important. Cases that you're working on. I know some programs at one point even requested some cases.
I've heard that.
That you've worked on. So another reason to document your experiences, not just journal, but also cases before and after, and a little couple of sentences about what happened, how the case started, what you did, and what the outcome was after 3 and 6 months follow up. Doc, this has been some great tips, great advice. Next assignment is go to the next video. Go to the next video right now. Go, go, go. Love, peace, and smiles. Go to the next video. Go to the next video.